Hey everyone, we are back for another exciting episode with some pretty intriguing guests. This month, we are all about women's history and music in our schools. We'll also find out what made Justin say...
Yes, so I did even fulfill the dream. I went and I conquered and I did it until I got broken, and then that's a whole nother story for another time, but...
And why Steven said...
Yeah, we've always said the galactic class needs to be implemented, and...
All this and more on this week's episode of On a Water Break.
Let's go. Set it up.
Top of the show.
Form, check form. Cover down.
Do it again.
Run it back. And we'll see you at the show.
Welcome to another episode of On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk about everything you and your friends are talking about at rehearsal on a water break. March is Women's History Month, and we'll be celebrating all month long with amazing guests, fun interviews, and maybe we'll learn a little bit as we go. It's also March 4th weekend, so it's time to celebrate all of us. Believe it or not, it's also Music in Our Schools Month, so let's get right to it. So for Women's History Month, we talked to Sadie Wallace, a pioneer in women being a part of drum corps. Sadie was a part of DCI from almost the beginning. She was there beside Peggy whenever she created the famous Peggy spin. She also worked with names such as George Zingali. So she has been at the forefront of color guard becoming the absolute movement spectacle that it is today. But before we bring her out, we want to check out who's on the sidelines this week. Hey, Steven, what's up?
What's poppin', Jackie?
And Justin's here too.
Hey, how's it going?
Woohoo! Now, we're going to be having more guest hosts stop by rehearsals to hang out. This week, though, we have an amazing female band director, Blue Coats fellow, and someone who is currently on staff with Chromium Winds in Rosemont, Illinois. It's Irene Guggenheim-Triana.
Hi, everyone. It's super great to be here. I'm really glad to be part of the show. My name's Irene, and I'm the assistant band director at Arsenal Technical High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm initially from the Washington, D.C. area, and then I spent 4 years in Columbus, Ohio, getting my degree at The Ohio State University, where I studied instrumental music education with a certificate in educational ethics and social justice. This past summer, I was fortunate enough to serve as the Program Coordination and Arts Administration Fellow with the Blue Coats Drum and Bugle Corps. And this year I'm super excited to be on staff with Chromium Winds as we present what I think is a complete banger of a show. So I'm just really glad to be here with y'all tonight.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here, Irene. I gotta say, I feel like we're diametrically opposed a little bit, though. I'm a Penn State graduate. So it's,
no. I promise I'll be
no
nice.
to you. No, go OU rather, I suppose.
I just want to say, Beth, thank you for finally making it to rehearsal. Did you bring Starbucks for everyone?
Of course.
Thank you.
That's the only way to show up late, right? I mean, you can't just show up and be like,
If you're going to be late, have everybody's coffee orders. Oh, all right.
yeah, you know what, though, Jack, yours is the most complicated.
Mine? I mean, I don't know why you'd think that.
I'm just straight coffee. So like all these fancy things just kind of, they're a little over the top, but I don't know. You're all welcome though. And I'm glad I could, provide since I was so late.
All right. Let's throw it back to you, Irene. What was it like being a Blue Coats fellow? Like let's go back and start with how did you get involved with that program?
So I found out about the program from the Mason Twitter account. So the Blue Coats Fellowship Program is going to be in its second year this coming summer. And it's a program specifically that helps young marching arts designers learn from some of the best in the activity, and specifically marching arts designers from typically underrepresented backgrounds in this field. So I sent in my application, and then I had an interview with Mike Scott, who's the CEO of the Blue Coats, and Liz Clayton, who's the brand manager. And then they ended up picking a group of about 7 of us. We met over Zoom for the first time. in about, I will say, April. Then we got a chance to have a Zoom meeting with the design team later that month. And then we all met in person for the first time at May Camp. And then we started spending a whole bunch of time together once spring training rolled around.
Yep. So what were some of your responsibilities with the Corps whenever you were participating?
So each Bluecoats Fellow is paired with a member of the design team to serve as their mentor. So as the Program Coordination and Arts Administration Fellow, I was lucky enough to be paired with Dean Westman, who is the Bluecoats' incredible program coordinator. You get to do some amazing one-on-one work with your mentor when you show them some of your previous material and receive some feedback. We also spend a lot of time auditing rehearsals and staff meetings. As someone who also comes from an arts administration background, that was fantastic for me as I got to learn a little bit about some of the financial aspects of running the Bluecoats organization. And this wasn't necessarily a formal part of the program, but I grew very close with the rest of my fellowship cohort. We ended up deciding to put our brains together, considering we had kind of someone in each discipline, forming a little unofficial design team and writing our own original drum corps show, which was definitely the highlight of my summer and something that was deeply personally fulfilling for me. And developing the bonds with those folks has been incredible, and we still work and talk with each other super regularly. Sarah Bowden, who was mentored by John Vanderkoff, is also on staff at Chromium Winds, and Maurice Boutan, who was mentored by Jim Moore, is also involved with Chromium Winds and has staged and choreographed some of the most impactful moments of our show. So I'm really glad to meet those folks. I'm really glad to be able to call Dean a friend and mentor, especially considering he's also in my neck of the woods in central Indiana. And just, I learned so much, and I grew both as a designer and as a person. And I'm just really grateful for the Bluecoats for giving me that experience.
Yeah, Irene, that sounds like it was a really cool experience that you got to have. If you're looking back on your summer, I know you mentioned even just creating the drum corps show together was like a great integral part of the experience. Is there any memory that kind of sticks out to you? Maybe like something juicy, something that you wouldn't just tell anybody?
Oh, anybody? That's a high bar. Definitely one moment that was just makes my heart swell when I think about it is one point during rehearsal, they put us on top of the press box so we could watch the rehearsal from up there.
That's like the best seat in the house, honestly.
Oh, it was stunning. And it was also, a couple of us were kind of in and out during that period of spring training, but it was one time where I think nearly all of us were in the same place at the same time. So we were just kind of really basking in being able to comment on everything that was happening down below, point out, you see how this is motivating that, how this aspect of the design is causing this other aspect of the design to be more impactful, watching how the design team was interacting with each other as they watched the creation on the field, watching how the pedagogical team was interacting with the design team to make sure that the vision that was coming to life wasn't just the designers or just the teaching team or just the performers, but kind of a combined force of all the different people involved. So I think that was a really magical moment. I think also just the first time we got to sit and watch the design team play with the props and the members and really let kind of the uniqueness of the membership body motivate some of the design choices in the show was really, it was something that I'd like to incorporate not only into my own art, but also my own teaching. And it was something that gave me so much to think about, really made my brain buzz.
Oh, that's amazing. What a fantastic experience to have, to just be able to be there and be mentored like that. Oh, that's wonderful.
It's a priceless experience, and I highly recommend when the applications come up next December, I believe, will be when the next round opens up. I highly recommend anyone who is interested apply.
Excellent. So before we jump into this rehearsal too deep, let's continue our little segment that we are calling Winter Watch. Each week, we will have our hosts and correspondents fanning out around the country to keep us up on what's going on with the winter activity. Last weekend, we saw a big weekend for Guard Regionals. This week, it was Gulfport, Tampa, Chicago, Philadelphia, Charlotte, and San Diego. We have everybody's favorite band mom, Cindy Berry, aka Leander Mama, right up front to give us what's happening in Winter Guard right now. Take it away, Cindy.
Hello again, Winter Guard and marching band friends. Leander Mama here with this week's chat about some of the amazing guards I saw last weekend on Flow. I was able to catch some of the incredible competition from San Diego, and I also made sure I didn't miss one particular group at WGI Philly. And you can probably guess who that was. But I want to start today's Mama Minute with the most incredible middle school guard in the country. Y'all, if you have not seen the Palm Desert Charter Middle School varsity guard, you just don't understand my life. I am living for this guard, and you should too. If you didn't know they were a middle school and you were watching this show, you would honestly think that this was a varsity high school open class guard. In fact, it won't surprise me at all if we see Palm Desert moving up to open class very soon. These are 7th and 8th graders, y'all. Babies! And last year, they were the only middle school competing in Scholastic A at WGI Worlds. And you guys, they finished 11th out of 140 of the top teams in the nation. Now, they are planning to return to Dayton this April with their new show, Along the Divide. And I am beyond excited to get the opportunity to see these students performing live. Will they break into that top 10 this year? If I was a betting woman, I would take your money on the odds of that happening. Now, Palm Desert took second place overall last weekend in the A division in San Diego, but let's talk about the winner. And that's the Vista Murrieta High School Winter Guard. Now, you may remember that Vista Murrieta also has a crazy good marching band. In fact, we have seen them compete at Grand Nationals and more recently at BOA San Antonio. Now, let me tell you all, that was a treat. And watching their guard is also a real treat. And it's part of the reason that Vista Murrieta has such a fantastic program overall. Their show this season is called Redeem, and it's purple and it's performed on this glowing green floor with huge tree trunks in the background, and I loved it. And evidently the judges did too. Now, moving on to WGI Philadelphia, which was the only other live streamed Winter Guard event last weekend, which is probably a good thing, or my poor brain could not handle trying to decide which competitions to watch. If only I could divide myself into 4 or 5 different people. So anyway, like I was saying, there was one group in particular that I absolutely knew I could not miss at Philly, and that was the astonishing AMP Winter Guard. Now, AMP competes at the top level, the Independent World Guard class. I have to admit that before 2022, I was not familiar with this incredible program, but last year they astounded me and pretty much everyone else with their phenomenal show about the Joker called Why So Serious? That is honestly a show I will never forget. But I am equally excited for this year's production of The Rabbit, the Hatter, and the Queen. This show is crazy and it's wild, and they throw things across the room and over their heads and to the people behind them, and maybe even to some guy at the top of the bleachers. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. It's just got everything, and I am here for it. And in April, I will be there for it, and I can't wait. Now, before I go, I have to remind you all that I will be live in attendance this weekend in Leander at Glenn High School for WGI Austin. And this thing is already set up to be amazing. We already have several guards that have moved up a class. And this will be the first weekend that we get to see the Jordan High School guard compete in open class. Jordan is a school in the Katy ISD that is only 3 years old. In fact, they opened the school during the 2020 pandemic, and this is their first year to even have a senior class. How is this guard already so good that they have moved up from Scholastic A to open class? Just how? And speaking of another relatively new school that just moved up to the world class division, the Mo and Jean Johnson High School from Buda. This school just opened in 2019, and their guard had phenomenal success in 2022 as an open class guard, finishing 6th place overall in World Championships last year. Because of that success, they are now a world-class guard, and I can't wait to see them up against our perennial favorites, the Woodlands. And let's not forget another new face in the Texas Scholastic World Class. That is the Flower Mound High School Guard. Now, Flower Mound has been a world-class guard in the past, but they've competed the last few seasons as an open class guard. I can't wait to see these 3 groups battle it out this weekend. And the future looks great for Scholastic world-class guards in Texas. Now, of course, there are a lot of other guards to watch this weekend. You can bet I will be there in Austin to catch every single one of them. The weather is a beast today, or I would already be down there, but y'all look for me in my Texas Bands t-shirt on Saturday and a Woodlands Guard t-shirt on Sunday. I would love to meet all of you. If you can't be there, be sure you are following me on Instagram at Leander Mama, and I will talk to you guys next time on the On a Water Break podcast. Have a great week.
Oh, Cindy, you always have so much great information and a great recap. I just love it every single time. I mean, yes, it was such a huge weekend. Again, color guards are winter guards, actually. I excuse myself. I'm so sorry. Winter guards performing all across the nation. I mean, we had so many great things. And what was even better is that everyone is doing so well at the end of February here. We're like only halfway through the WGI season here, and we are already seeing mid 80s scores, the high 70s into the mid 80s across the board and all the top groups and all the different classes here. And we've seen some new standouts coming out. It was really interesting to see that over in the Chicagoland area, it was a mix of, those Illinois groups and then those Indiana groups battling each other out. And it was a great mix of Indiana groups winning, which of course I'm always going to be a little partial to being from Indiana. It's great to see, the old hometowns and stuff kicking butt. But it was also great to see that some other new groups out there, like Allegiance and Independent Open. It was great to see Avon is continuing to prove strong. Down here where I currently live now in Florida land, I mean, it's really nice to see the West Coast side of the state doing really strong here, coming out strong, like Tampa Independent. Both their A Guard and their World Guard taking top. It's always a pleasure to watch Tarpon Springs. If you have not caught it, I've seen some clips popping around on the TikTok, but there's also a full video out there. If you have not caught that show yet, I don't want to spoil it. It's an amazing fusion of some awesome stuff going on. I know I love it as being both a percussionist and a guard guy. It just checks all of my boxes. Makes me really excited to, and I want to piggyback a little bit off of what, Cindy there was saying. She's going to be doing Texas on the Palm Beach, Florida. I have plans on being there. And so seek me out. I'm going to be wanting to talk to you guys, doing some interviews, seeing how you guys are enjoying your season. But I have plans here in a couple weeks to go to that competition. I'm super excited about that.
Ooh, oh man. We are also, I wanted to talk about the Charlotte WGI contest because like you were saying, Justin, like the 70s and 80s are just everywhere. I'm like, all of these scores are basically my favorite summer temperatures. So I am here for it. Let's get some heat going on this winter.
Absolutely.
And then I want to give a nice shout out to some of these groups that I've been kind of seeing them on social media, especially Etude. There's been some clips here and there wandering around, and they got an 82.3 this weekend. So they're again one of those top performing groups. I just remember their the show with the flowers a couple of years ago that just was amazing. And then if you guys haven't seen Takata Independent, they're from Spartanburg, South Carolina. I think this is their second season competing, and they are a pretty breakout group. So I'm interested to see where they go and where their score goes from here too. Of course, Paramount. Love Paramount. They are all over my social media. I see clips of them from so many different places. And then Edge Independent. I think they're a fairly newer group. Anyways, this lineup is just awesome. So I am very excited to see what happens when all of these guards get together in Dayton. I had to think about where World Championships was. How many years has it been in Dayton? I can't even use the excuse that I've never been there before because I've been there now.
You have. No, it's also, I mean, it's a great season for Winter Guard. I mean, it always is. Every year, it just seems to get better and better. But I'm just so impressed by so many groups this year. It's so awesome. Yeah,
I on the social media side of things, I'm impressed with how much Color Guard has exploded into social media and how they have just embraced it. Like, there's people out there who are specifically filming for color guards and percussion groups and marching bands and drum corps, and they have like these amazing media teams, which are basically like full camera sitcom teams, you know, like they're all over the place. It's awesome.
It's a great thing for accessibility. My students will come into class in the morning and say, look at this amazing TikTok or amazing YouTube video that I saw for some drum corps, and it gets them really excited for their own involvement in the activity.
Yes,
this
absolutely.
is the thing that like I dreamt of when I started Spintronics. I was like, I hope people will see these videos and they will learn new things, and they will be inspired to find out how to learn these things, or just something, you know, just getting it out there. Okay.
Absolutely. We could talk for hours.
It's true.
But I feel like if we take the whole thing for Winter Guard, Steven might feel like a little left out. So I guess we should move over to percussion side of things. Man,
I am
Steven,
including percussion in all this too. Oh my gosh. Because
are you? Okay.
This year especially has been my biggest exposure to percussion since like ever, because it's on social media so much. So why don't you tell us what's happening over there in percussion land?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was actually a big WGI regional weekend for percussion as well. I think just kicking it off, we had a huge show, 2-day regional out in Temecula, California. And over there, no surprise, maybe at least it wouldn't surprise me, Pulse and Chino Hills dominated the regional. We were talking that 85s, 80s sounded high. Pulse got a 90.7 and Chino Hills got a 90.05.
Whoa, okay.
On February 25th.
Okay, wow.
So I don't even know where you're supposed to go from there, nor do I know how you compete with that, really.
They have a new scale. They're going to be competing for 200 at WGI this year.
Yeah, we've always said the Galactic class needs to be implemented.
Yes.
And I think it's never been more apparent than February 25th, 2023. But looking down the Scholastic side of that regional, Great Oak High School won with an 80.45 in open, and Carlsbad High School won A with a 74.75. Moving over towards the East Coast at the Trumbull Regional in Connecticut, United debuted their show and they received an 87.85, which as an alum, I'm very proud. I'm very happy to see them get that score. I can't remember doing that well that early in the year with United. Not to knock me or any of my own peers from those years. But seems like they're kicking off to a good start. Dartmouth debuted at that same show with an 87.45 in a Scholastic World class. And then some of my favorite local high schools, Old Bridge High School actually swept its competition in open, scored an 86.05, which is the highest score that I have seen in open class yet this year.
Nice.
Local
Somebody
circuits,
had to break the seal. That's awesome.
Yep. Someone's getting up there. I love Old Bridge. I swear I talk about Old Bridge every week. It's not nepotism, anyone that knows how many friends I have in that program. The judges agree that it's not nepotistic. But New Milford High School won A class at that regional. They scored an 83.25. At the Chicago Regional for percussion, it turned out to kind of just be an A-class dogfight. That was most of what we had there was Scholastic A groups over in Chicago. But looking at the top three, Manuka Community High School took home the bronze medal with a score of 75.8. Lake Central High School earned a silver medal with a score of 77.65. And Plainfield Combined High School won the A-class competition. They scored an 82.45. So congratulations to those schools. I'm sure many of them are looking forward to finals. Finally, down in Justin's neck of the woods, wrapping it up, kind of my big story for the week, I guess. Maybe a little scandalous, depending on how you feel about beefs down in the South percussion scene. But we had a promotion. So at prelims, Infinity 2 won the independent open class with a score of 84.25. But at finals, they placed second in world class, meaning they actually beat out Atlanta Quest, who, for many years is a perennial world class finalist.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
Yeah. So it's always a shocker to me. Maybe they're going the direction of PAL, where they move on, and PAL, Pulse Open World, tends to beat out a lot of world-class groups, and they make finals almost every year. Maybe we'll see Infinity 2 start to step in that direction too. But I guess kind of goes without saying, Infinity won out that competition. They scored an 84.35. right atop of Infinity 2, who came in second with an 82. And then Atlanta Quest came in third with an 80.3. In the Scholastic competitions at that same competition, Newsom High School won open class. They scored a 75.65, and Stoneman Douglas High School won A class with a score of 76.55. And that about wraps up percussion competitions from this weekend. Seems like most of the local circuits took off, knowing that there were a bunch of big WGI regionals, but definitely some exciting stuff coming out. I think now that we had some regionals, there's got to be a bunch of like bootleg videos on YouTube too. So I'm going to scrape them down. I'm going to try to find something so I can make some of those good Cindy comments be a little qualitative instead of quantitative next time.
Nobody can do Cindy comments.
Oh, that's true. Nobody can. She's the best. Just look up not Old Bridge.
Yeah, not Old Bridge High School. There's bound to be something like that. But I look forward to seeing them, and I love breaking them down for you guys.
We managed to cross paths with a lot of those percussion groups in the Chicago Regional when I was over there with CW, and there was definitely a lot of incredible things going on there that we totally knocked my socks off this early in the season. It was just super great to be able to catch live. Another group we were able to be able to catch a little bit of in the warm-up room was Avon, and I'm always just impressed by the sheer amount of sound that they're able to create. So, and I'm a sucker for gradients, so I was a huge fan of their costumes this year, and it was a ton of fun finally being able to see what the other groups are putting on the floor with regards to both winds and percussion this season.
Yeah, Avon just has such an incredible program.
Hey, so you're like in the winds world. Do you think you want to come recap for us the rest of the season?
Yes,
I would love to.
Yes!
I love it.
Okay, everybody, it is time to get your instruments and get on the field, because coming up next, I will be talking to Sadie Wallace, who taught with some names you may recognize: Zingali, Sylvester, perhaps a little Peggy Twigs, just the literal inventor of the Peggy spin. And oh yes, we will be getting that whole story very soon. Okay, y'all, get back out there.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
Shop our extensive consignment inventory for great looks for your team that won't break your budget. Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
Check out our fun merchandise and gift items.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs. Contact us for custom show design services.
Clean out your storage areas and get money back into your budget with our consignment program.
Guard Closet is here to help you get all you want and need this winter season.
Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
Hey, this is Nicole, one of your hosts for On a Water Break, and I want to tell you about the Cookout. The Cookout is an event celebrating people of color in color guard. This event is happening in Dayton, Ohio, April 16th, the day after WGI Finals at the Courtyard Marriott Hotel, aka headquarters. There will be presenters and speakers, networking opportunities, food, and more. To get more information on how to get your tickets to go to the Cookout, visit marchingcookout.com or visit our Instagram, it's the Cookout CG, or our Facebook page, The Cookout. We can't wait to see you there.
All right, we are here with Sadie Wallace. Sadie, welcome to our water break. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Jackie. So nice, very nice to be here. Very exciting.
It is very exciting. There's a lot of stuff going on today, and Women's History Month is just so full of incredible stories. So why don't we start off? Can you just tell me a little bit about your background? How did you get started in color guard, and would you mind telling us when you got started in color guard?
Oh no, I'm going to show my age. Okay. Well, let's see. The genesis, I think, would be as far as movement and color guard and all that, my first movement class would have been tap. And that was only because my mother had two other daughters. And she wanted to get rid of, no, she didn't want to get rid of me. She wanted to give me something to do. And so I started with that. And then in elementary school, I started with a baton and drum corps. So I was a majorette. Yay.
Nice.
And the baton and drum corps morphed into a drum and bugle corps and a winter guard. So they took all the majorettes, and kind of brought us along. And I learned how to spin this big, giant rifle, nothing like they have these days. I mean, it literally had a real trigger on it. Trust me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was very heavy, I recall. So then winter guard and all that, and then the drum corps, and then I was in a few different drum corps. And then my last 3 years and where I aged out was the Finleyville Royal Crusaders from Finleyville, Pennsylvania. It's a little town outside of Pittsburgh. And fortunately, we had some very talented people there. And we also had, I don't know if you know this name, Donald Angelica. If anybody knows any drum corps.
Okay.
But he was a consultant, and he started bringing in all these different instructors and just really helped Marie Chapinski. Okay, that's a color guard name, and you know as well. And her husband, of course, Gary Chapinski. And then he just brought people from the East Coast, and we had people from California, Mike Moxley, who was the former director of Blue Devils, and he marched in Santa Clara. He was a drum major.
So this was a really big melting pot of just
really,
incredible
really
talent.
Was. It was very much so a melting pot. So I marched there, aged out, and had gone to community college as a theater major, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I had stayed physically active as far as not just drum corps, but I was a cheerleader in high school and all that, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't know what to do after I graduated with my associate's degree. Since I had so many friends in drum corps in New Jersey, I moved to New Jersey.
Isn't that what drum corps does to you though? Like it draws you in and it changes your life and changes your track.
It really does. My mother, thought I was crazy, but by then there was 5 girls. So she's like, okay, one of them can come. My girlfriend and I moved to New Jersey. I was 21, and believe it or not, she was 17.
Oh, gosh.
Now, that does not happen now in these days, but in the 70s, it did, believe it or not. Anyway, so just started getting involved with marching bands and color guards there, started teaching again. I had a real job as well. And then that kind of developed, I taught a million different color guards, Long Island, all through New Jersey, started teaching marching bands. My first big drum corps that I taught was the Bridgemen in 1978.
Ooh, okay.
With Bobby Hoffman and Mike Mercandante and Tom Pratt. Again, a lot of heavy hitters.
Yeah.
And Lucia, if you know of any of those people. So that really got me more involved and more educated, really. And I did the rifle line, again, because I was still a rifle. That was my thing.
Right, because it was really separate. Like
it
that,
really was
back
at
then.
that time. Absolutely. Yeah. You had, well, we always said you have the rifle line and the drummers. Those were the, people that were really fun. And then the people and the horn players. Everybody, of course, was fun. I'm just teasing, but that's how it was in those days. So I just continued teaching color guards and everything. And then and I had met George Zingali. There's another famous name, hopefully, to some of your listeners.
Oh, hopefully, yes.
I met him right when we moved to New Jersey in 1975. Yes, I'll say it, 1975. And he was just, the most unbelievable person I'd ever met. we became friends. He, at the time, of course, was teaching the 27th Lancers, which is another very famous drum corps. And so then we just kept in touch and would see each other, drum corps shows and color guard, the whole thing. And then in 1982, when George Zingali, Peggy Twiggs, and Mark Sylvester broke off from the Lancers, they were hired by the Garfield Cadets at that time. And I was hired in 1982 as well to be the guard instructor. And we were all kind of friendly, but we had never really gotten to work together. So for me, that was just heaven. That was fabulous. I mean, talk about University of Drum Corps and Color Guard, right? So I taught with Peggy Twiggs and George and Mark almost all of the 80s. I would say yes, all of the 80s. I think I told you this story, Jackie. We cadets had won with in 1982, we came in third, which was kind of a big jump. I think we were fifth maybe in prelims. And then we bumped up to third, which is unheard of.
Oh, and it's really unheard of nowadays. Like it's,
absolutely. Because it was always like, tense. This was kind of a couple of points maybe. So that was a big deal. Long story short, we won in 1983, 84, and 85, which was, as far as I know, and you may want to do some research on this, the only three-peat, they call it, in drum corps. I could be wrong, but we always say it anyway. But then there was something happened, and the director of the cadets fired us all.
Oh, gosh.
And we all went to the Star of Indiana in 1986. So we all taught the Star of Indiana. In the meantime, in the winters, we were teaching color guards. I lived in New Jersey, but I would drive up to Boston and teach. I taught Erte. I taught Emerald Marquis. I taught St. Anthony's.
Oh my gosh, I love Emerald Marquis.
Yeah. Have you never seen Erte?
I don't think I've seen Erte, or if I did see them, I didn't know that was who they were.
Okay, you have to go back and watch Erte because that show, it was a show that most of the music was Philip Glass. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yes.
And it was a wild show. Anyway, so we all taught together, 86. Then we were miraculously hired back to the cadets.
What? How does that work?
Well, So then we taught from then until 89, and 89 was my last year in drum corps. Well, I shouldn't say that. It was my last year in drum corps in New Jersey. I happened to get married in 1990. So we moved. My husband was from Pittsburgh as well originally. And anyway, long story short, he got a job in Dallas, Texas. So 1990, I didn't do any drum corps. 1991, though, I did teach the Skywriters.
Oh, yes.
Drum corps, and they were in Texas for that year. Originally, they were from Kansas, the Skywriters. I don't know if you know that.
Yep. I actually, I live in Missouri, and that's kind of our roots is like Skywriters are in Kansas City, and
Are you breaking up a little bit there? I can't hear you.
So what was it like sort of being on this staff? Because like there was probably not very many women, I'm assuming.
You are correct.
So what was it like kind of having to like be some of the sort of, I want to say like idols or icons out there, like for those, because I mean, those of us who are young and coming up in this as women in the marching arts, we're looking up to you guys as instructors, and we're like, okay, that's our instructors. These are the people who like, you're out there doing it. I'm like, yes, Sadie's out there doing it. I can follow in her footsteps, and I can do it because I've seen her do it before me. What is that like?
What is that like? Wow, that's a big question. It was phenomenal, actually. I always enjoyed it. so much. We didn't really feel like we were breaking down barriers. We were just doing what we liked. We were learning from each other. Peggy Twiggs and I had a wonderful teaching relationship. It was, I don't know if anybody out there is teachers. I think there are a lot in the color guard world, but team teaching. And for the most part, I think drum corps and color guard does use that. But she and I had such a team teaching technique to work on things and to evolve things. We used to have this big, I'm not going to say fight, but we used to have this discussion because after 82, we did not have a rifle line. So I became a flag instructor as well. Okay. But I was also in college for physical education and dance. So that kind of morphed really nicely into, I started doing the PT, the physical training for the whole corps, and of course for the color guard. And that's when the body movements with the color guard became more involved. So I was using everything I learned, almost, I would say, live streaming and taking it right to the color guards that I taught and the drum corps that I taught. I taught, I learned the flags from the best person ever, Peggy. I learned the drum spins. I learned the Peggy spins from Peggy, which was fantastic. But our discussion, however, was usually before a show, and I'd say, I need this amount of time to warm them up. She'd go, well, I need this amount of time to do the flags. So our heads didn't butt, but we always it was sort of a fun thing. So, speaking of dance, we used, tondus, right? Everybody know a tondu?
Of course. Yeah, pointing your toe for those listeners who don't know.
To the front, to the side, en croix, front, side, back, side.
Yep.
And so we came, and I think it was the two of us together, and we said, well, why don't we do them at the same time? Like during she's big on 100 spins.
Oh
my
God. Wait a minute. So you're telling me you're like an absolute pioneer in this idea of I am spinning my flag and I'm doing dance technique at the same time.
I guess. I know. I didn't see a lot of other color guards doing it at that time, especially in the summer. Now, winter guard, I will say, was a little bit more ahead as far as dance and body, right? But for drum corps, I mean, from when we came, the marching, the boots, the high leg lift, and all that, to go kind of into this other realm of movement of lower body and upper body, yes, flags and feet. I think it was pretty cool to be able to start that and do that. And then we just kind of built on that. Especially with the Peggy spin, that's a little harder to do tondus, but we had other things. So we would kind of incorporate that into our warm-ups, of course, during the year, during our massive camp rehearsals. Then we just kept building and building and building and doing all kinds of body and flag and stuff.
Well, how do you think that sort of changed things and contributed to the changes we've seen in the drum corps and winter guard over the years, over the decades, really?
Well, I think for one thing, it allowed the music to be interpreted the way I think it should be. And again, I'll bring up all these names. George Zangali was a huge advocate of music. And if you ever watch any of his drills or drum corps or color guard, he was so musical. And he taught me that, to be so musical, because you are the visual for what people are hearing, right?
Right. Yes.
So it just kind of allowed us to do that, not only with the color guard, but then sort of trying to incorporate into the whole corps, which is what everybody does now. The whole corps dance, right? So it was very fun and such a creative outlet for us. We just throw things at our kids as we built on their education. They were so talented. I mean, you could tell them a change as they were walking out on the field, and they could make the change, But they were always enthusiastic about any kind of little body or anything we wanted to try. Anytime we wanted to try something that they thought might be really weird, or I can't do that. Like, yeah, you can just try it. We'll do
And
it.
those performers are the ones who've gone on to like teach the performers we're seeing today now. And so it's really like just seeing the evolution of that. That is just so amazing to know that you guys started that back then.
Yeah, it was a great time. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I can't even tell you how wonderful it was. Really, those were fantastic days. Long summers. We used to go on tour for 8 weeks.
Oh,
on a bus.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was hard, but great.
What's one of your best memories from those teaching years?
One, you want me to give you one memory?
Yeah. Just something the first thing that pops into your mind. What's just an amazing memory you have from there?
Okay, I'll give you one amazing memory. Finals were in Miami, Florida, in 1983 in August. Very much.
Oh no, my gosh.
But that year we were undefeated in every show we went to. Okay. And for prelims, we were, the color guard was warming up. We are always in some godforsaken spot, but we were by this parking garage. So the parking garage, the girls were facing the parking garage. Peggy and I were facing the girls. And we were doing our warm up. And the girls, I don't know, their eyes were just like giving us these weird looks. And then finally somebody said, turn around. We turn around. The whole parking garage, every level was filled with spectators watching our warm up.
Oh, wow.
And I just got a chill thinking about it. And, Peggy and I, we just looked at each other like, oh my God, we are good.
Yes. That's one of the things we always tell them. We're always like, okay, warm up as if you have a huge group of people watching you already. Yes. Oh my gosh.
We did. Now, the other funny part about that is we lost prelims to Santa Clara Vanguard.
Oh, my heart.
But the better story is we won finals.
That's okay. So, there we go.
Imagine the whole season not losing a show. It was wild. It was wild. Yeah. That was one of that's a memory that sticks.
That is an amazing memory. Oh my gosh. So where do you think the future of color guard is headed? Where do you think that we're going from where we are now? Just with what you see.
Can I be very honest?
Absolutely. Spill the teas.
I think color guard, and I don't know if this is the right word to scale back, but there's too much going on. I don't see where there's a focus on the music to interpret it visually. I just don't know where to look anymore. George Ngale was the master of creating an effect. Okay. With 130 people, let alone just inner guard. So everybody in the whole 50,000 stadium would zone in on whatever effect he wanted you to see. But in color guard, to me, lately, and drum corps, of course, too, there's so much going on. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be looking at, honestly. So for me, I would like it to be pulled back a little bit, maybe fewer props, maybe to the basics a little bit more, just a little bit.
I could see that. I think
all.
last year that Avon won and didn't have props, if I remember correctly.
Really?
There was a few that were getting up into those higher ranks that just didn't have any props. It was just them out there on the floor. And so I think what you're saying is probably something that a lot of people are seeing because yeah, there's kind of a slow, very slow, but a slow lean toward that direction back to the core of what color guard really is all about. And that's
Right.
about interpreting the music and I love to see it. And I really am glad actually that that's your prediction, because that's kind of my hope.
That's my hope. I don't know if it's a prediction. The other thing, and this is sort of tag teams along with it, is more drill instead of running from set to set to set to
Yeah.
set, right? That is an art, absolutely, on
It
how to
absolutely
write
is.
a drill to get these people to be moving in unison, or again, interpreting the music and just the beauty of just the drill without any equipment, even,
Right.
you know? So that's not necessarily my prediction, but my hope. Maybe it'll bring me back to judge someday, but
Oh, maybe. Well,
it's just too much for me.
yeah.
It's just too much. So anyway,
I think that's great. And Sadie, I appreciate your time so much for you coming to talk to us today, because this has just been an excellent. I wish I could just ask you about all of your stories, because I'm sure you've got hundreds of them that you could just shower on everybody. So, but thank you so much for coming out. And I'm so glad we got to talk to you today. And maybe we'll get to hear more from you when we do our history section in April.
I know a lot of people. And I know a lot of old people.
Hey, that sounds great. That sounds like something we're going to take you up on, because man, that's getting everybody in here and just having them talk about everything.
Yes,
Oh,
yes. I know some fabulous women that you really need to interview.
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much. Oh, you are an absolute gem. I am so glad that I got to call you and got to talk to you. And this has been fantastic. So
I'm so glad I didn't think you were a spam message.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
Shop our extensive consignment inventory for great looks for your team that won't break your budget. Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
Check out our fun merchandise and gift items.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs. Contact us for custom show design services.
Clean out your storage areas and get money back into your budget with our consignment program.
Guard Closet is here to help you get all you want and need this winter season.
Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
Hey, this is Nicole, one of your hosts for On a Water Break, and I want to tell you about the Cookout. The Cookout is an event celebrating people of color in color guard. This event is happening in Dayton, Ohio, April 16th, the day after WGI Finals at the Courtyard Marriott Hotel, aka headquarters. There will be presenters and speakers, networking opportunities, food, and more. To get more information on how to get your tickets to go to the Cookout, visit marchingcookout.com or visit our Instagram, it's the Cookout CG, or our Facebook page, The Cookout. We can't wait to see you there.
Sadie is amazing. I'm blown away by all of the history and all the stories that she has. And oh my gosh, like, she looks so good. I'm just saying, like, I know you guys didn't get to actually see her on video for our interview, but she is in fantastic shape, and it's great.
Well, when you stay active in the activity, that kind of helps, right? I think it's
For sure.
when you're when you're mentally acute to all of everything that's going on, I think that helps you feel younger and you just want to do more, and you just do it.
And just like the people that she knows and like the experiences that she was there for, like, I really hope we get to bring her back later on and keep going with her, because she's such a font of knowledge and stories, and and like the fact that she is so humble about the fact that she was a female educator, like, so early on in this activity.
Well, and she was pretty much alone because there weren't that many females. So like, she had to break down a lot of barriers and be brave. And I think it takes a lot of bravery to be willing to put yourself out there and commit to the activity that you're so proud of and you want to be a part of, especially when you're being a groundbreaker whether you want to or not. Sometimes you're a reluctant one. And maybe she was, but she didn't. She hit it very well. So she's somebody we can all look up to.
It becomes a whole thing when you're a member of an underrepresented population especially in this activity, but any kind of performing arts, that you often feel a pressure to compromise your art just to be able to be accepted by the status quo.
Yep.
And it's always incredible to meet creators and artists, designers, educators who are just unconditionally themselves and not really willing to sacrifice their vision and what they want to see in the activity because they are coming from a position of less representation within the marching arts or within, say, even the broader performing arts as a whole. So that's something that is really inspiring to those of us who are just starting to break into the field. And I'm just so grateful that we get to be in this industry where we get to speak face to face with the trailblazers of our activity.
Yes. Oh, it's so fantastic. Another fierce female educator is our girl, Whitney. She is fired up this week. You guys don't even know. And she has a few things to say in Wisdom from Whitney. So take it away, girl.
Yes, Jackie, I am quite fired up, but we're not going to really talk about that right now. We're going to talk about what it's like to be a woman in the marching activities. So I never realized the inequality of women and men in the pageantry community until after I was in drum corps and independent winter guard. Growing up, it was just females in North Carolina where I was, and didn't really have a lot of exposure to men in the activity besides those that I had watched in independent organizations. Growing up, most of my choreographers were men for equipment, and females were usually my dance instructors, and most of my caption heads and directors were female, I would say, with a good amount of men as well. So that may have been a little bit more mixed as far as directors and caption heads go. So I was taught by a pretty good mix of genders growing up in color guard. The women that I did have in my life growing up were always so strong, and I feel like they kind of had to be in order to keep their game with the men competitors that they had and their male colleagues and counterparts. So I think I just naturally picked up on that and always felt the need to be strong or try to be one of the strongest physically and mentally in the room all the time. I'm also a highly competitive person, so that's just kind of in my DNA, is to be competitive, and I always am trying to be the best person in the room. I think a beautiful thing about what we do is that in many cases, we are pushing the females to be as strong as the men, again, physically, mentally, and even emotionally. And I don't think that this is a bad thing. I think that it's important to teach women to be strong. There's no rule that says women can't be strong. Why would we not teach young women and young men to be strong? Everybody should be strong. And strength can mean all kinds of different things, but I think that is definitely something that I have taken from color guard is strength, and strength in all kinds of different ways. So I guess really my wisdom for this week is to try and be strong regardless. Don't forget to listen to your emotions, though. That's always important. Stay true to yourself and be the strongest, baddest woman in the room.
Thanks, Whitney. So March 4th is coming up, and we wanted to ask everyone here on the sideline, what made you all say that you wanted to march 4th into this activity? I'll go first. I actually saw Blast the Show, the stage show on VHS way back then, dating myself a little bit there.
VHS. Oh.
It was so good.
What is
so good. It just inspired me. Since you were late to rehearsal today, Beth, I'm going to make you go next.
Oh, okay, sure. I brought coffee. Didn't that count? No, I'll talk about it. So when I was a little kid, I was probably around 10 or 11, my dad worked at a university, the local university, and he took me to see the band because he knew how big it was and how impressive it was locally. And it was Westchester University. And I actually got to see George Parks as drum major on the podium when he was in college.
Whoa.
And it opened up a whole new world for me that I was starting to play my clarinet and I kind of had an idea, but when I saw what was possible, it blew my mind wide open, completely wide open. I'm like, well, I want to do that. And I just pointed at the field, and my dad knew, and he and my mom, schlepped out to all those cold, November night performances for many years after that. But that really, hearing that sound and seeing it visually just gave me it was a huge jolt, and it really impelled me forward. And that's definitely my March 4th moment.
Justin, what about you? I've known you for a million years, and I don't even know that I know this story about you.
I can sum it up in just 2 words. Cavaliers, spin cycle.
Ooh, yes.
It was my first DCI show. My high school marching band director was like, hey, I'm going. Any of you kids who want to go, get tickets. We'll get a bus. We'll all go. And I didn't know any better. I was like, cool. Sounds like a fun thing. Drum corps. It's drums. I'm a drummer. Let's do this. Because this was before I kind of discovered guard. I was still in my percussion phase. And so I was
in my percussion phase too, but our phases were a little bit different, Justin.
And we went. It was in Muncie, Indiana at the Ball State University there. And they came on in the bright yellow and green, and instead of paying attention to what the rest of the corps was doing, I could not stop watching the awesomeness that was that color guard. And I remember my mom and dad came with me, and I remember looking at them both and just literally looking at them and going, that is what I'm going to do.
Right? Yes. That's the best. The best.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Steven, I'm gonna jump in here just to tell you, I know some of the boys from that color guard, so if you need some, I can make that happen. Okay, go back.
Well, to be fair, I actually know some of them too, because for a hot minute before I got broken and everything, I did March Cavaliers, so but yes, so I did even fulfill the dream. I went and I conquered and I did it until I got broken, and then that's a whole nother story for another time. But that is my March 4th moment. I saw them come out and I went, that, and then I went back to the high school and went to my guard friends and was like, teach me. I want to do what you do now. So
that's fantastic.
Irene, what about you?
I think it was my first football game with my high school marching band. You definitely would not have heard of us. We were the Richard Montgomery Marching Rockets from Rockville, Maryland. And
love it.
Yeah, so great. And there were 2 distinct moments from that evening. The first was our drum major came out, and I saw him in his drum major uniform for the first time. And he had a gold cape. And I went, I want that, and I'm going to have it.
I am here for the cape. Yes.
It was so good. It was such a good gold cape on a high school marching band uniform. And the second moment was after the game. We had this little chant we would do in the parking lot outside the band room before we went and got out of our gross, stinky uniforms. And I just remember just shrieking my lungs out in this parking lot with all these people who I had just basically met a couple weeks ago, and just feeling like I was a part of something so powerful, and just feeling such a part of this community and this machine that we were all working together to create something so incredible. And it was addicting. It was an addicting feeling. And that was it. That was game over for me. It was done.
Who doesn't want a cape? We all want a cape at some point.
I want a cape right now.
Exactly.
Steven, did you want a cape? No, what's your March 4th moment?
Who doesn't want a cape? I agree. My March 4th moment came back in 2013. It was my first time as a freshman in high school going to WGI finals. And, not to humble brag, but we got ourselves a little measly gold medal. That was not what really cemented it, though, for me. What really did it was later that night when I got to watch Rhythm X 2013. And I was sitting, I had side seats, like kind of on the left side, and the bass drums were pointed right at me. And then in the beginning of that show is like one of the most iconic bass features anyone has ever played. Like completely reinvented how people play bass drum, turned them into like the things that people get excited about. And from that moment forward, I was like, wow, I love Rhythm X. I love bass drum. I never thought that I would ever go as far as I did with it as I did go. But that was my March 4th moment. It showed me that like this could be a thrilling activity. It wasn't just like doing high school band or something like that.
For sure.
See, that's what the other people don't get. How thrilling it is. Because you're right, Stephen. It can be so thrilling and exhilarating. I'm right there. I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Oh, now I miss performing.
Right?
Gosh darn it. Now we're going to have to go do World Guard again.
Yeah. Or we can march DCA together.
Yes. Okay. Let's go.
Oh, DCA.
But here's the thing. It's going to be the On a Water Break drum corps. So we are always on a water break.
Oh, there we go. There we go. All right.
Well done, Jim.
All right. Okay. Let's do a quick one. It's Gush and Go time. This is the time in our show where our hosts and guests get to gush and go on about anything they want having to do with the marching arts. And I need to start this off today, guys, because I have to gush. I am so excited. I just finally passed my test for my AFAA group fitness instructor license. So I am now officially a licensed group fitness instructor. I'm so excited.
Hey!
For a small bit of backstory, this was something I took on like back when I was pregnant, and I was like, oh, this will be easy. I've been teaching Zumba classes for years and years. I'll just do this real quick and I'll be a licensed fitness instructor, and then I'll go have this baby, and then I'll come back to more fitness classes like that I want to do. And then that didn't happen. Here we are, 2 years later, and now I finally got it. So it's been a lot of hard work.
Oh my God. Jackie, I love your tenacity and your just boldness, just like, I'm going to do this. Oh, wait.
I guess you just glossed over. I'm just going to have a baby, and then I'll just fine. It's fine. I can do
That
this.
was seriously my mentality about it, though. I was like, it'll be no big deal. I'll just do this, and then I'll have the baby, and then we'll just move on with it. No. Guys, having babies is hard. I'm just, like, everything about, like, pregnancy is hard, giving birth is hard, postpartum is hard, like being a parent is hard. It's all hard. Don't ever think that it's not.
Thanks for doing it for us, Jackie. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Stephen, what do you want to gush about this week?
Oh, goodness. It's a little tough to follow that one up. I went corporate this week, so I've been doing a lot of anything but band, but I got my PTO approved to come out to Dayton, and I got myself a flight, so I'm excited. I can't wait to get out there. April 20th, I'll be coming to Ohio.
Woo-hoo.
Good for you.
Nice.
Beth, what about you?
Good for you. Oh my gosh. So this is my craziest busy season because every group likes to travel in the spring, right? All the spring band trips. So I'm gushing about the fact that people are traveling and groups are getting out there and doing it again. And I'm going to gush about the live performances. I've been able to see some marching performances down in Orlando at Universal and at Magic Kingdom. And it's just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have 50 students or 150 students, just being able to be out and hearing the crowds and that applause again really warms my heart. And seeing these kids that have been working so hard, a lot of them have never been on a trip with their band because of COVID. And this is their first foray. And it was so heartwarming to be there. And they weren't even groups that I was involved with. I was just excited for band. I was just like, yes, so that's my gush for the week. I'm just excited. And I'll be absent a lot in April because of it, which is a good problem to have for me for work, but I'm happy to be back to live and just seeing them all again.
Oh, Justin, what do you want to gush about?
Oh, well, I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of Beth's there, because I, too, am loving seeing all the groups coming back to perform live at, like, Disney and Universal. I mean, I work for Disney, so I can't really talk about Bruno, but...
We'll talk later, Justin.
Yeah, exactly. But, I love that. But what I want to gush about, I mean, and I know I brought it up a little earlier, but I just want to get it out there that I am super excited that I've got everything lined up, that I'm going to be at the Palm Beach WGI Regional. It's usually in Orlando, but it's in Palm Beach this year, which I'm not complaining because I'm going to go to the beach while I'm there too. So, I mean, I'm going to be there. Checking everybody out. Be on the lookout for me if you want to be, one of our like featured performers or whatever. I'll be there taking some interviews. So find me. I mean, it won't be that hard. I'll be the one at the top in the middle screaming louder than anyone else in that building.
Well, you know what you should do, Justin? You should wear a Spintronics polo. I'm just saying.
Jackie, you're I wanted it to be a surprise.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, of course I'm going to be
sorry.
I think an on a water break trucker hat.
Yes, me out there with an auto and a trucker hat. Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's so my style.
No, that's so you.
It's so me. But no, guys, I'll be out there, and as Jackie already let out the bag, I'll be wearing my Spintronic stuff as always, representing. But definitely come see me if you want to be featured. I'll be doing interviews. I want to talk to you. I want to know about your season. I want to know how you're, how you guys are doing out there, because you guys are awesome. So hit me up.
All right, Irene, you've seen how we're doing and you're catching on. What do you want to gush about?
So I want to gush about something that's happening at Tech, or I should say the whole city of Indianapolis. So Indianapolis Public Schools, my district, is the district that makes up all of the schools in inner city Indianapolis. And all the band programs at these different schools are too small to field their own individual marching band. So what we did last fall is we created the IPS All-City Marching Band, combining the populations from 3 different schools. So that's Arsenal Tech, my school, Crispus Attucks High School, and George Washington High School, who are all in Indianapolis proper. Yeah. And
yes.
The All-City Band had their first competitive season last fall, and it was so much fun. It was a little scary at the start because it was a band of 100% rookie marchers. We didn't have any vets.
Wow.
And there were kids from different schools. We weren't sure how they were going to get along with each other, but it was honestly the highlight of my fall, watching them kind of form these unbreakable bonds with each other and go from a group of completely rookie marchers to a group that performed as the exhibition group on the Thursday night of VOA Grand Nationals. So that was just something incredible. And we're starting it again this month, which is what I'm so excited about. We are starting rehearsals on the 16th, starting to get some actual rookies into the whole picture there. We are also doing our show reveal on the 21st, which I'm not going to spoil in case any of my students end up listening to this, but it's going to be really fun and exciting. We're super proud of the show we put together for this amazing group of kids. So I'm just really excited to crack back into that and see if these kids were able to accomplish so much as rookies, what they can do with 1 year of performing under their belt. So that's what I'm really excited about.
Oh my God, Irene, I'm so jealous. It makes me wish that I was back in Indiana because I love that kind of stuff. And like you're talking about it, I'm like, I want to help. But like I'm here in Florida, so I'm sorry.
You're helping, Justin.
I am. I'm there in spirit.
You're moral support. She feels it. She can feel it.
I will be the biggest cheerleader. I think that's just so awesome that the IPS schools were finally able to do something like that. Because from Indiana, I know that like the rules and all of that kind of restricted that for a very, very long time. So it's really cool that you guys were able to do that.
No, it was fantastic, and we're so grateful. We have a tremendous amount of support from Music for All. Our district is super on board, and that's another hack is that our students generally do not have the kind of incomes at home to be able to pay the kind of band fees that other programs are able to ask of their students. But doing the All City Collective allows us to pull upon district money, pull upon local nonprofits and historical preservation groups and stuff like that. And there's such a fantastic legacy of music in Indianapolis Public Schools.
Oh, yeah.
Freddie Hubbard went to Tech, the school where I now teach. So it is so great to be able to pull upon that legacy. And we are blessed to have a super enthusiastic group of kids who are constantly hungry for more. So I'm just could talk all day about the All City Band. It's a ton of fun.
Go band. Come on. It's great.
For more than 30 years, March has been officially designated by the National Association for Music Education, also known as NAFME or NAFME, for the observance of Music in Our Schools Month, the time of year when music education becomes the focus of schools across the nation. The purpose of the month is to raise awareness of the importance of music education for all children, and to remind citizens that school is where all children should have access to music. March is an opportunity for music teachers to bring their music programs to the attention of the school and the community, and to display the benefits that school music brings to students of all ages. The events surrounding this month are the ideal opportunities for increasing awareness of the benefits of high-quality music education programs in our nation's schools. NAFME hopes that teachers, students, and music supporters alike will find ways to join in on the celebration through creative activities and advocacy. Learn more about how NAFME works to support music education on their website, nafme.org.
Yeah, thank you, Irene. I couldn't agree more. Music education is just paramount. I wish that more students were involved. But everyone, I'm excited. I get to introduce a new segment of our podcast to you all this week. Starting today, we'll be conducting short interviews with performers who are currently members of many of your favorite winter guards and indoor drum lines. My first guest for this week is a longtime friend of mine who's aging out this winter playing bass drum at RCC. It's time to shine the spotlight on Ann Turner. Hey, Ann.
Hey, what's up?
Nothing much. I'm glad you're able to come on. I've been real excited to get this bit started for a little while now. So with this week being our first episode in Women's History Month, I thought you would be a perfect first guest to interview. So why don't we start out? I want to make a little tradition week after week with a quick rundown, but there's going to be a catch. You can tell us all your life story in the marching arts, but let's try to keep it contained to 8 bars. You think you got that?
All right, I'll have to go fast, but I think we can do it.
I set the metronome pretty slow, so I think that you got some time and space in here, but I'll kick it off. You got Fornin.
All right, hey guys, I'm Ann and I'm 22 and I'm currently living in Ontario, California to age out with RCC. From Wilmington, North Carolina, where I started drumming in 2015. I did my first season of Independent in 2017 with Alchemy, and then I marched Carolina Gold and Shadow. Moved to Virginia to go to William & Mary, so I did Mason and Crown in 19, spent the COVID year with Boston, did my last season with GMU, then aged out from BD this past summer. I graduated from William & Mary, summa cum laude in May with degrees of biology and environmental science and policy. I think I made it.
Yeah, that was fast. You started like rapping you nearly rapped it all. But that's cool. You've done quite a lot of band, Ann. And I was
lots of places
it.
In a short amount of time.
Yeah, right. It's a shame that COVID kind of got in the way and cut your marching career like some of the years in the middle, because you were going to have a tremendous amount of time. You still got to do like way more and way better groups than like almost everyone. And you have a gold.
Yeah, I filled out my bingo card, as people like to say.
I would agree. I would say so. As you look and you compare like the rest of your marching career to your age out right now at RCC, what would you say stands out about the RCC experience to make it unique compared to the other ensembles you were a part of?
Well, I think there's like a pretty big differentiation just between the East Coast and the West Coast vibe. Like everything at RCC is so relaxed. Not that rehearsals don't have protocol and structure, but everything's just a little bit more fluid. We spend a lot more time in design mode. So like at Mason, Friday nights would always be subs, getting better at music. At RCC, almost exclusively our Friday nights are out just being hand staged on the floor. Like maybe sometimes it's a little slower, but it's just a huge design process. So even if you're not being worked with, like the show is still getting evolved.
Right, that makes sense. And that's actually like really relatable to what my Rhythm X experience was like, in that it just kind of felt more professional in some sense. Like you've already done the training, now we're here to just like everyone be professionals at the same time and put together like the best product that we could put together. Is that kind of like how you feel like your experience is going?
Yeah, definitely. I think another thing that's different from RCC is the fact that we're so focused on design is that our show doesn't get done until pretty late compared to other groups. Like I think there's some world-class groups that have their whole show on as of last weekend, and we're just barely getting into / through movement 3.
Yeah, okay. How many minutes is that, like, roughly?
I think we're up to 5, maybe a little over 5.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of interesting because it's like two divergent ideas of how you like design at the top end of the activity. You either want to like have your well-written show ready to go in November, so you're just cleaning it outside and becoming as perfect as you can for months, or like RCC and Rhythm X sounded a little more similar in this sense that we were just like continuously taking the worst part of the show each week and trying to turn it into the new best part of the show. Once we had it designed and like changes. You go.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Like lots of changes, like you would say. Half the stuff you learn one weekend, you're going to come in next week and they're like, hey guys, we're going to change all of it. And you're like, wow, that's just so cool. Because, you spend all the time during the week getting better at something. But then ultimately, it makes the show better. So you have to be really adaptable and ready to make changes. So week to week, the show changes a lot.
But Anne, I want to play a little bit of a game. It's similar to a game that maybe you or many of our listeners have probably played at parties or played even on a water break, perhaps at some point. But we're going to call it March, Teach, Cut. And the way it works is you're going to pick a show. If you could march in any show, if you could have taught or designed any show, what would it be? And if you could just wipe a show from planet Earth, just get it no longer exists. Pick out 3 shows. And let's stick to indoor shows since it's the WGI season. If you could march any show ever, what would it be?
Favorite indoor show ever is Pulse 2017. So man, if I got the chance to go march that show, that would be awesome. I love that show. I think it's designed so well. There's such a good story. The music's awesome. Definitely.
Is that
Pulse
the ghost
17.
show? The like
Yep,
haunted
it's
house
a spooky
show?
ghost show.
Yeah. Oh, that's an excellent show. That's a great answer. If you could have designed any show, which would it be?
I'd probably teach or design Rhythm X 2018. That's an honorable mention to one that I would march. Just so high energy. I think that show's awesome. I got to see it live on finals night, and just the energy in that room was super cool. So, to be a part of that design process would have been really fun.
Yeah, I almost feel like a nerd calling it this, but that show was like literally electric. Like not even just thinking about the electric guitar solo, but they had just so much energy. That's like one of my favorite X shows of all time. So let's like flip to the opposite end of the spectrum. If you could wipe a show off the planet and no one ever saw it ever, what show would you pick?
Apologize for this one, Steven, but it's going to have to be United 2019.
I would probably wipe that show from existence too if I could. I'd love to wipe it from my memory. UP19 was good. I feel like we played well, but it never like came together in a great way. It's a good choice answer.
Oh yeah, I agree. You guys played very well, but too many moving hazards on the floor.
Anyway, Anne, if anyone listening wanted to see your favorite video of you performing, A, what video is it? And B, how could they find it?
This one's not WGI related, but
that's fine.
One of my favorite videos is going to have to be from Boston 2021. There's a bass subslot that's up on my YouTube account. It's titled Boston Crusaders Hyde Park Bass 2021 Allentown Subslot that our good friend Alec was able to record.
Hey.
We just played really, really well. And
shout outs to Alec.
Yeah, shout outs to Alec for getting probably one of my best subslots ever. So yeah, lots of really fun music, good 3s and 4s if you're into permutations. It's a fun one.
I'm into permutations.
Oh, I know.
I'll make sure to go check that one out after this call. And besides your YouTube channel, where else could people find you on social media?
Besides my YouTube channel, you can primarily find me on Instagram. It's going to be @ann.saber, so ANNE.SABER. And then, of course, you can follow any of the RCC social medias. So there, I think it's just RCC Baseline or the whole RCC account, and then you'll be able to kind of follow along with my age out.
Sick, yeah. And go check her out in the lot. Check her out in Dayton. Check her out on the floor. And thanks for coming on and kicking off this new bit we're going to be doing every week. It was good talking to you, and I'll see you in Dayton.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Going to be telling you guys all about a new competition that any of our female listeners could get involved in. This is called the Hit Like a Girl 2023 Drum Competition. It's the 12th annual international contest for female drummers, and its purpose is to showcase and encourage drumming and lifelong musicianship for girls, women, female identifying, and non-binary individuals, regardless of age, playing level, or geographic location. They got a division for children. They got a division for teens, young adults, and, full-grown adults as well. But it's produced by Hit Like a Girl Inc. You could check out their website at hitlikeagirlcontest.com, where there's already plenty of, I'm sure, fantastic submissions. It's also some really interesting and great prizes, too. More than $75,000 in prizes are awarded to the champions, winners, other participants in the contest. Includes things like drums, cymbals, sticks, heads, other accessories, even some electronic gear as well. So if you're a female listener, if you're a percussionist, knock yourself out. Hit it, girl.
Thanks, Stephen. Beth, you have some collegiate news for us this week.
Well, I do, and it's a little bit of history as well. So, if you're not familiar with Title IX, it was the movement and the act that would allow women to participate in collegiate sports on an even level and have with the men in those sports. And Rutgers University this year is taking time to honor the first female members of their marching band, which was actually very recently. In my opinion, anyway, it was only 50 years ago that they allowed that. So one of the women that were in the band at that time, when she first got to Rutgers, she wasn't able to perform with the band because they didn't allow women in the marching band, and so she had to wait. But she was able to get in finally in 1972 after Title IX passed, and. It was civil rights legislation. That's how pivotal this act was. It was part of that year's education amendments. It not only prohibited gender and sex-based discrimination in sports programs, but it also applied to all education programs and activities that received federal financial assistance, including marching bands. So it's exciting that this year during the October 7th halftime game, or the game against Nebraska at halftime, they're going to actually honor the women that were in that band and part of that first group that were able to march as a result of Title IX passing that year. So it's an exciting time for women to be acknowledged and recognized for the trailblazing work that they did, but also just for the world to catch up to what we already know. And it's how awesome the women are that are in the activity. And we have several of them on the podcast today.
Well, speaking of people receiving honors, Irene, don't you have a very honored news story for us this week?
I sure do, and it's such a cute story. I'm losing my mind. So, if you get the chance at some point, if you're located in the area for the UNCA pep band, you might notice that there is a trombone player in their membership that has something that makes him a little bit different from everybody else, and that is the fact that he is in 6th grade. The UNCA pep band welcomed in Nolan Spence, who is a 6th grader from North Windy Ridge Intermediate School. He is a trombone player, and he's now playing in events with the UNCA pep band. He got involved with the program because his mom works in the UNCA athletic department, so he was already spending a lot of nights watching the Bulldogs and doing odd jobs kind of around the athletic facilities and spending a lot of time with the members of the pep band. As he started becoming closer and closer friends with members of the pep band, eventually the invitation was extended to him to participate in the show. This has been, he says, a incredible opportunity for him to become more serious about the trombone and get, quote, really good at it. So there's an awesome local news segment from their local news station that gives a short little interview with him, and you get to see him in action. So super cool way to get a local student involved with music making in his community.
I love it.
What an amazing experience.
Come on, he's going to remember that forever.
Yeah.
Right? He'll remember that forever.
For sure. That's just such an awesome experience. Justin, do you have news about any other awesome experiences and awesome opportunities that are coming up?
I mean, it kind of goes along with the whole honoring thing, but I've got WGI has recently announced their 2023 class for their Future Leaders program that they do. So if you're not familiar with the IMWGI Future Leaders program, it's basically like a mentorship and a leadership opportunity for our WGI performers across all regions and divisions to get some one-on-one and with the the big names of our industry and things that we do. So they get to have mentorships from members of the WGI board of directors in areas relating to what they are passionate about, whether it be winds, percussion, or guard. and then they in turn get to be do more of like an ambassadorship for the rest of the performers, just being leaders themselves for their own peers. So I'm just gonna it's a nice small class here. We've got 4 from the color guard world and 3 from percussion. I don't see anything listed for winds. It might be a little early for them. I mean, we love our winds friends, but they haven't been around for as long as the others here, so I'm sure that WGI is working on it. But for this class, it looks like just a big shout out quickly it looks like for color guard, we've got Andrew Elkins from South Carolina, Shauna Chim from Massachusetts, Reed Scholes from Arizona, and Seth Sharp from Ohio. And then, of course, in the percussion area, we've got Alexis Rodriguez from my hometown of Indiana. We've got Bethany De Laurentiis from Pennsylvania, and Zaira Mata Velazquez. I am so sorry if I butchered anyone's names, from Ohio. And I just want to point out, it's kind of awesome that all of the percussion, female.
Boom.
Just saying. I think that's pretty cool.
Love it.
So I love it. I love it. Congratulations to all of them, of course. I'm sure that they will learn lots from this. I personally love mentorship programs and stuff, and the fact that WGI is doing this for our young performers and stuff is just so awesome.
So just imagine,
congrats, guys,
how far we would have gone if we had that kind of opportunity presented to us.
Look, I wasn't going to bring it up and not be a little shady and a little, whatever about it. I mean, I was trying to be positive, but if you're going to break the ice, Jackie, I mean, I'll join in. I mean, yeah. It's just awesome that, our activity, a lot of us think that it's been around for a while, but it's still so very, very young.
It's so new.
And, the fact that we are at a stage where we can start thinking about, these mentor programs and that sort of thing, instead of just the old fashioned way that we all learned, like, well, watch what your director does.
Yeah.
All right, now do it like them. Oh, and then go learn from that guy over there.
Yep.
Here you go. Go teach your own
don't
team
watch
now.
your director. Or don't do it that way.
Exactly.
Here's what not to do, and then
Exactly. And then just, get thrown out to the wolves and then you go write your own show. It's fine. You'll do great.
You'll be fine. Nobody will get hurt.
Fine.
It'll be
no
fine.
one get hurt. No. Hey, I won't say it. Never mind. That's for the After Dark episodes. Never mind.
Well, I'm going to step in with my own news story here that I brought. The Trojan Explosion Marching Band from Virginia State University recently got to perform at the White House Black History Month event. This is something that normally only is played by the Marine Corps band, but being that it was the Black History Month and everything, the Trojan Explosion was invited to come and be the first university to do this performance. So that's an awesome honor for them. They had to have sort of a selection because the entire band could not go and fit where they had to perform at the White House. And so it was kind of the cream of the crop of their entire group that was able to go perform. And they were led by an alumni of their program, Taylor Whitehead. So it was pretty cool that they got to go and have that experience and perform for our nation's leaders. Beth, let's do one more news story. What do you got?
Just getting invited to the White House. I mean, come on.
Right.
That's
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. I don't know. I would have been pretty nervous, I think, if that was my invitation. I'd be like, okay, well, here we go. Well, I think I have our wrap up.
They know what they're doing.
They were well rehearsed and prepared, I'm sure. I'm just thinking about if you had to launch me there now, that'd be terrifying. But I will say that, they say that, see a need, fill a need, right? And in Palm Beach County, Florida, a gentleman by the name of Antoine Miller, who went to FAMU, Florida A&M University, he saw a need in his community for a marching band, and he decided, you know what, since there's not one, I'm going to start one. So he started his own community marching band because he just felt that was what was going to best suit, right? And he's a young man, and he wants to contribute and give back to the community that gave him so much. He saw a lot of his peers going down paths that were detrimental to themselves, and he opted not to do that. And he ran into his high school director, who encouraged him, and he has now built this band. It's got over 85 members in his community, and now he's trying to get them to London. So now he's tugging at my heartstrings. Not only is he created his own band, and now he wants to get them to travel, and it's just amazing, and it's really heartwarming. So if you see anything about Antoine Miller, he's in Palm Beach County, Florida, and he's got the Sounds of Success Warriors Community Marching Band. And so if you look them up, you can find them. And if you want to contribute maybe to their travel expenses, they are gladly accepting donations at www.soswarriors.com/donate. So if you get a chance and you have a couple extra coins you can flip to them, I'm sure they would be greatly appreciative, and get those kids the opportunity to see the world, literally. And what a heartwarming story, and a great way, I think, to wrap up our news for today.
All right, everyone. Thanks for a great rehearsal this week. Thank you so much to our hosts, Justin, Stephen, and Beth. Of course, thank you to Cindy, Whitney, and Bill for your sections. And thank you very much to our special guest host, Irene.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Irene.
Irene was fantastic.
Thank you, Sadie Wallace, for joining us. And stay tuned for more exciting guests as we celebrate Women's History Month and Music in Our Schools Month. Go subscribe, write us a review, share this podcast with a friend, and we will see you at the next rehearsal on a water break.
Go practice.